But let's talk about some of the guys who took a leap in 2023. Not necessarily young players, just guys who improved from 2022 to 2023, helped their football team along the way, and we'll see what that looks like going into next season. But want to give them their due. At the top of the list here, Dak Prescott. So he was 11th in EPA per dropback. It's a little nerd metric that stands for expected points added. So sort of a proxy for how efficient you are compared to other quarterbacks in this case. Dak was 11th in 2022, and he had the struggles, and we talked a lot about that 2 seasons ago. Last year, he was pretty good, but as you noted, not only Dak, but the Cowboys struggle once January rolls around to the point that it's hard to explain. 2 years ago, they lost to the 49ers, that weird 4th down play. Last year, who did they lose to last year? I don't remember Green Bay beat the crap out of them, right?
In Dallas.
Jeez, both those games are in Dallas. So that's not on Dak, but I think Dak did a lot of things really well, and you were asking whether he's going to be around. I don't feel like he's the problem in Dallas. I don't know. Maybe you feel differently?
If whether it's fair or not, you have to. The quarterback gets blamed for the wins and losses, but he's not trying to defend the run against Green Bay, and Green Bay ran up and down the field. So unless they move him to middle linebacker next to Micah Parsons, yeah, he probably gets more blame than he deserves.
Right. I agree with that. And I don't know what the solution is in terms of we'll never know. I mean, maybe he has to go somewhere else and win a Super Bowl, and then we'll feel better about it. But he had a really good bounce back year, if you want to call it that. It wasn't like he was bad. He was 11th according to this metric here. Next up, Matthew Stafford, who just keeps getting better. I think the big reason for the jump last year, 2 words, Puka Nacua.
3 words, Puka Spillman Nacua.
Puka Spillman Nacua. But Matthew Stafford, you have said countless times, I believe, if I heard you correctly, you've never heard the ball being thrown harder at a pro day than Matthew Stafford's?
No, I was at the Georgia Pro Day. I was outside in bad conditions, and the ball was like whistling through.
That was 2009. Where were you in 2009?
I was in Minnesota in 2009.
I don't remember who you took in 2009, but Matthew Stafford was the first overall pick for a good reason. And he's been every bit as advertised. Was he considered a mobile quarterback back then? Because he's athletic, but he primarily stays in the pocket.
Yeah, but he had enough athletic ability to move around the pocket. But yeah, probably besides Jamarcus Russell, just in a throwing session, that was one of the most impressive throwing sessions I've seen.
Yeah.
Except he can take it to the field.
He took it to the field for sure.
Wasn't able to do that at the NFL level.
CJ Stroud said, I don't know if it was on a podcast, but I saw a clip on Twitter the other day, our buddy CJ Stroud, that if Matthew Stafford had been, say, in Green Bay, he would have as many or more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers. Do you agree with that?
Well, he put up a lot of big numbers in Detroit, but just they never had success. I think maybe 1 or 2 times they went to the playoffs. We hated playing against Matthew Stafford, and we had to play against him twice a year. So in the right situation, he got out in LA, and in the right situation, he is able to win a Super Bowl. So you can theoretically say that, but again, that's a hypothetical that I absolutely hate.
You love hypotheticals.
I hate hypotheticals, but theoretically, let's not call it a hypothetical. Theoretically, he probably could have.
By the way, that's one of the rare trades. None immediately come to mind. I'm sure there are several others. Both Stafford and Goff are better players in their new landing spots. Stafford maybe has the benefit of better players around him, but Goff certainly has gotten better since leaving what we thought was his ideal landing spot.
Yeah, and he beat Stafford last year in Detroit in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, like, both those guys are insane athletes, have great arms. Goff is probably a better athlete I'm getting credit for, but a lot of playing quarterbacks just confidence. Next up on the list, Lamar Jackson, MVP candidate or MVP winner. He was a candidate for the longest time. Went from 23rd and expected points added in 2022 to 8th last year. His numbers, off the top of my head, weren't quite as jaw-dropping as they usually are, but he was certainly much more efficient. Then Baker, and then I put Purdy on the list, but Purdy didn't even he went from 6 to 1 in terms of his efficiency. You can say that has to do with Kyle Shanahan and the playmakers around him and the offensive line. I get all that. I don't disagree with it, but he still has to throw the football and make the decisions. So these are the players I came up with, Rick, that I thought did the most. Purdy's side, I just want to give Purdy his due here. did the most in terms of improving from one year to the next. What do you think about this?
What's the common theme here? Prescott, new play caller, and Mike McCarthy. Stafford, okay.
Puka Nacua, Spielman.
Yeah, well, Sean McVay is a pretty good play caller, one of the tops in the league.
Todd Monken was in year one, correct?
Huh?
Todd Monken was in year one in Baltimore, I believe, right?
Yep. New play caller. Dave Canales, Baker Mayfield, new play caller.
Yep.
Purdy, who has maybe the best offensive play caller in the league right now, Kyle Shanahan. So to me, the theme here is they're all offensive-minded coaches that know what these quarterbacks do well and are able to adjust their scheme around what the quarterback does well.
Also, all veterans except for Brock Purdy for the most part. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything in terms of the conversation going forward, but you can teach an old dog new tricks. Dak's always been good. Stafford's always been good. Goff has made the leap. We're not talking about him, but Baker certainly made the leap. Once he landed in Tampa Bay, he was in Carolina and then LA, the Rams before that, just sort of jumping around after Cleveland let him go. But, and they're all first round pick. Dak went in the fourth round because of off-field issues. I think he probably had top 50 talent. And then Brock Purdy, had he come out a year before, maybe he goes top 100, but obviously he was Mr. Irrelevant when he stayed for an extra year at Iowa State.